All right. Welcome everyone to today's stream. Today we're going to be having myself, Oliver Simon of Blockwatch Data, and William Mackenzie of TezTalks Commons as your host. And our special guest today is entrepreneur and investor Alon Goren, whose founding partner Draper and Goren Holm, which is a venture studio focused on accelerating and incubating early stage blockchain startups. And we're excited for what's going on in the space, and I think you are too. So let's get started. But before we do, I think, William, you wanted to announce our giveaway, right?
Yeah. So today we're going to be having our usual Ledger Nano S giveaway. Here later on during the stream, we'll announce a keyword, and you'll have to input that keyword, and a winner will be randomly chosen to win that ledger. But contrary to some of the other streams we've done, I believe Alon is also going to be giving away $100 worth of USTZ. If you'd like to talk about that a bit more, Alon, go ahead.
Yeah, we'll dive into it a lot during the chat, but one of our portfolio companies, Stable Tech, launched the first US dollar stablecoin on Tezos. It's USD Tez. So I said, if somebody's going to win a ledger, you know, it's bad luck to send an empty wallet or to give a gift of an empty wallet, right? So you got to put something in it. So I said, I'm going to throw in 100 USD Tez into it. So you guys will let me know who wins it, and we'll figure out how to send them the USD Tez.
Awesome. That's generous. Great.
Very. I guess to go ahead and kick us off here, Alon, would you like to share with us all a bit about your background and, you know, maybe perhaps what kind of propelled your interest into the blockchain space?
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks for having me, guys. This is awesome. It's an honor. I really appreciate you inviting me. My background, I'm a a techie. Been goofing around with technology since I can remember. My older brother is an engineer, so I'd be looking over his shoulder when he was like in high school and I was in junior high, trying to figure out what the heck he's doing and participate and all that. And so really early on, I started building apps or websites and things like that and trying to figure out how to do stuff. And, you know, most of it was playing games and, you know, really basic stuff. But later, my first jobs and stuff in you know, while I was going to school, outside of our family business, was working at banks. I worked as a teller at a bank. Then I actually got a job in the systems architecture group at Countrywide, and just saw how terrible and inefficient banks were run. And then I got a job at MySpace while I was still going to school, and it was blowing up. It was crazy. It was at a time when MySpace was the most trafficked website on the internet. There were more people going to MySpace than Google. Like, it was crazy. I mean, this was a long time ago too. I think I'm a bit older than you guys, but like, you know, it was pretty cool. And what was really interesting was that social media was changing the game. Not just like on one side there was social media, but on the other side there were games and things like that were being played by people across the internet with digital goods in them. So the sort of thing I've brought up a bunch of times on other things is that, like, there was one year where Farmville sold, like people actually paid for, which was like almost unheard of back then, more tractors in Farmville than John Deere sold tractors in real life. So John Deere like had some licensing agreement with Farmville that you could buy a John Deere tractor, and they sold more in real life. And I remember thinking while working at MySpace, wouldn't it be really cool if we could use the same kind of technology, the same kind of social sharing and technology to help raise money on the internet? And so we started working on what would become a crowdfunding platform, but we called it a social fundraising platform because the word crowdfunding didn't exist yet. And we started building a company around that. And one of the first investors, actually the first investor, was a fund, an accelerator fund that was funded by Tim Draper. So I got to meet Tim Draper really early on in launching that company, and got to know him really well. His son, Adam, actually used our technology to launch a company that ended up becoming Boost. It was called Boost Funder. Then they ended up pivoting to run their own accelerator, and that's the first Bitcoin-focused accelerator in the world. So even though we weren't directly working with him anymore, I still went to all the demo days, participated and learned about the blockchain space. And even in our office in 2013, we built a mining rig to see if we could use Bitcoin. It was right when Litecoin launched, so you could figure out, you could look back at the dates. It was, I think, mid-end of 2013. We tested, can we use Bitcoin or Litecoin to do micropayments on crowdfunding sites? And so we were just diving into all this stuff because the idea was like, we wanted to democratize raising capital, wanted everyone to be able to participate, make it free, easy, and open for people to raise money for whatever they wanted to online. Regulation was a big, huge wet blanket on us, and that stopped us. So that also made me passionate about the blockchain space. But at the time in 2013, it was way too early for consumers to be using Bitcoin at that time. But we experimented with it, we learned about it, but I didn't really do much with it. And cut to a few years later, I was now working at a fund that was a part of the Draper Venture Network, and I got to meet Kathleen at one of the events. She was interviewed by Adam Draper. Got to learn about Tezos, but still didn't really participate much in the Tezos space other than like watching it from the sidelines and getting excited. But you know, the last year or so, I've been hanging around regularly with Kevin Marabi from Stable Tech. He promoted Tezos a lot at our LA Blockchain Summit conferences, and opened my eyes to start paying attention more and more and more. And now I feel like we're at this awesome inflection point within the Tezos community where a bunch of products are being launched. You know, like, you know, Calment is launching soon. We see all these experiments with TZ colors and dang, how do we pronounce it? We just discussed it before the call. Hi said nunc. Right?
Given that it's Latin, I think it should be hic et nunc. But I guess everybody's
so all these experiments that are awesome and exciting, but then there's USD Tez and ETH Tez, you know, as trading pairs on Dexter and Colibri, and now all of a sudden, like there's something going on, right? Like there's people using on-chain products on Tezos other than just delegating to a baker. And so I think there's an exciting opportunity for people for people who want to build things on this network, and for consumers being built on this network. So we're DGH as a group, and me personally, are really excited about it, and we're investing in companies building on Tezos.
Do you want to dive a little bit into your role at Draper Goren Holm? Like when we talked to you before, we noticed that you seem to have one of the most awesome jobs on the planet. So maybe you want to, talk a little bit about it.
It's really, really awesome, right? So you know, it's from the sidelines, especially looking at VCs and stuff like that. It seems like the best job in the world. It really is. You shouldn't complain. We're like half startup, half VC in the way we run ourselves. We're just like startups, constantly raising money, constantly pitching, but then also we're not the average VC, right? Where you write a check and you just take a step back and you watch. We can be that way with certain companies once they get to a size and stage where they don't need us and can't help, but we only really do deals with companies at that very, very early stage where we feel like we can add value, right? Like to the company. So when we feel that way, we do a deal with a company, we make an investment in them, and then it's a bit like a startup accelerator, but there's no standard thing, right? It's not like Techstars where it's like every 6 months there's a new cohort, or every certain amount of time we hang out with them for 3 months and then send them off to the wild. We're sort of married to these companies long term. So like, when we find a company we love, we start working with them, we make an investment in them, and we help them as much as we can, because what we have that's different than the average VC or investor is this, VC speak is our platform. And our platform is really our conference and our events and the media that we do. Like you guys know, Tim is all over the media and all that, but DGH also as a firm, we have LA Blockchain Summit, which is one of the world's biggest blockchain conferences. So, you know, over quarantine, even though we couldn't do it in person at the LA Convention Center, we had over 150,000 streams of the conference. And our goal with that is to evangelize the whole crypto space. And so, you know, we use that to our advantage with our portfolio companies. So when we invest in a company, they obviously have a prominent role at those events and things like that. And then when they launch a product, we make sure that our mailing lists and things like that get notified and people know. And then, of course, because we have to do so much media for our conference, we almost have like an internal PR firm to use for our portfolio companies when they launch things and stuff like that. So my role in all of that is really, you know, it's really funny. We're a really small firm for the amount of noise we make. Like up until Tim made his investment in us and we rebranded to Draper, Goren, Holm, Joseph and I were the only two full-time people. Now, other than Joseph and I, we only have two other full-time. Adam, who you guys probably see on the blockchain and booze events, and he's more public, and then Zoran, who's behind the scenes, helps us with a ton of things we do. And the reason we're able to do that is because we ourselves are techies and nerds and build on all of this stuff. So my job is partly hanging out with entrepreneurs, right, and like getting to know them, and hanging out with you guys and playing around on Twitter and getting to meet everyone building cool stuff, because I want to be the first one to invest in it. So I want to be the first one to know about it. And then partly, you know, fundraising and raising money for us and for our portfolio companies. And then partly experimenting myself, because I can't look at a company and know what they're selling me or what they're working on is exciting unless I also know the technology. So, and so it's a lot of fun. Like I found a way to make, you know, playing around all day. Like we were talking about this. One of the cool projects on Tezos right now is what TQ is building with OpenMinter. And so we invested in Calment, right? So Calment is one of our portfolio companies. They're going to be launching probably next week. We'll see. But I wanted to see, you know, play around what's going on with the Tezos ecosystem with NFTs. So I started off by going onto the TQ website and I did their command line tutorial, and I minted NFTs on mainnet from the command line. I went, oh, whoa, this is cool, I did it, right? And then the next thing was, okay, can I use OpenMinter? And so I installed it locally. The next thing was, can I take OpenMinter and make it public? So like, you know, and I was able to do that. And so I did, that's right. Oh, sorry, I'm so distracted by things moving on the screen.
That's awesome, man.
I hope the rest of you guys are too. So I just launched NFTs.fun, NFTZ.fun, and on NFTZ.fun, anyone can mint an NFT on Tezos, and it's super easy. I will preface this by it is a experiment. That site's probably going to break a bunch of times because I'm like editing it in production and goofing around. But it's enabled by OpenMinter, which is super cool, by TQ. And the real marketplace for these things, and where you'll be able to buy, sell, and trade these NFTs, even if you create them on NFTs.fun, will be Calment when they launch very soon. So everyone go! I encourage you to make to mint an NFT. NFTs. What are we going to call them? Well, I need your guys' help, but I think that we, from this point on, should call NFTs with a Z at the end, so that you know, to basically, you know, that's like the NFTs that are minted on Tezos. But yeah, it's so fun, right? Like this is what I get to do and experiment with. Oh my gosh, the chat's going crazy.
Well, call to action for the audience right there. Head over to nfts.fun and check it out, and maybe issue an NFT, and also engage in the chat and let us know what you think about, like, how should we talk NFTs and Tezos.
Yeah, fixing one bug, just so everyone knows, with the TQ team right now. So if enough people mint NFTs, you may not see yours on the website for a minute, but it does exist in your wallet, can't be taken away. It exists on the blockchain. Just the display thing on the website is a little wonky at the moment, but fixing it. It's a lot of fun though. Like, right? So the thing that's just awesome about all of this is just how open and free it is, right? Like that's the whole point of the blockchain space. And so it's exciting to be able to find open source code, customize it, launch something. If I was more experienced and more up to date with my coding skills, I would have been able to do it in a day. Instead, it took me a couple weeks of experimentation and nights and weekends in between meetings to get it live. But that's the beauty of this whole thing.
I completely agree.
Yeah, and that's kind of touching back. That's really interesting, about your role. I think it's pretty clear, you wear quite a few hats and you just go beyond this, typical investor or, VC role. You're obviously engaged and, do a bit more than writing a check. But I think going off on that, we had a question from the audience. Chris D asked Alon, what do you look for when investing in a new startup?
Yeah, that's an awesome question. So really, when if we did our job right and we get to a company when we want to, we're the first people to write a check, right? And we have our fund to be able to double down and invest more money in these companies, but we try to be first. So if you're first and you want to be first, the most important thing obviously is the people. And I know people say this all the time, but the actual person we are investing in is the most important thing, because today, the product might look a certain way, and tomorrow it might look like something completely different. But the people running it are the same people. So you want that team. So you hope that at least there's two people on the team. There's somebody who's more on the business side, somebody who's more on the tech side, and you want it to be well-rounded, right? So if you find the well-rounded team, then the next step is, do you actually like these people? Because people think of crypto as crypto investments sometimes, and they think like, I'm going to buy a token. Whenever I want, I'm going to sell that token. But that said, we don't invest in tokens specifically. We invest in early stage companies, and we sort of have what the VC world calls an early stage venture model, which means if you're investing in the equity in a company versus the token, you may not see an exit one ever, but if you do, the average is like 7-8 years, right? So like people that invested in Facebook didn't make their money back till 10 plus years later. So when I invest in an entrepreneur, I want to know that if I'm going to be, locked in a room with them for the next 10 years, so to speak, that I like them. So that's a really important part of it. And so we really, that we work well together. So we look at people and how well we work with them. Of course, their ability to execute, get shit done, get stuff out there, build, and do fun stuff. I'm looking at the chat and I'm distracted. Kryptonio, I'll switch to Alon.tez instead of Alon.eth after Tezos Domains launches. So Tezos Domains, hurry up already. But yeah, so it's the people, their ability to execute, them doing something. And of course, we have to look at the company, make sure they're addressing a big market, they're doing something we think is important and all that. But there's tons of people building cool apps, right? Like we just talked about NFTs, how many NFTs marketplaces exist, right? But there's the people you want to hang with, the network you want to be on. There's certain things like that are really, really important for us. And are these the right people to do it? It has to be people that are going to get things done, going to get things going, and going to hit it hard and not be slowed down by anything. That's a big part of it. So.
Yeah, speaking of building cool apps, we've got another related question by Blind Ripper, who's asking whether you have any NFT or gaming project on the radar. And I guess I can add to that. If not, would you be open to invest in that kind of project?
I love that idea. We talked to a few NFT gaming type of companies. but we haven't made any specific investment yet there. Our only investment so far in an NFT platform is Calment, other than the time I've spent goofing around with OpenMinter. But I absolutely love that idea and would like to invest in a company doing something like that. I'm especially excited for Tezos and the ability, the first time I heard about what Kathleen was doing with her startup or her game Emergence, I really loved some of the differences that Tezos, the FA2 standard had baked into it versus what you could do on Ethereum with like an ERC 1155 token. There's some differences that make gaming and unique collectibles even more unique and special on Tezos. So I'm really excited for companies in that space. And if you or anyone listening has a cool company in that space, hit me up. I should say also, any company building on Tezos or building a blockchain product that is looking for, even before you're looking to raise money, if you're just starting a company, go to the Draper Goren Holm website. It's drapergorenholm.com and fill in the details there. We're a little slower on those than we should be. It's almost always better to get a direct introduction from someone else in the community that knows us and works with us, or whatever. But it's important for you guys to submit your stuff over there, because then we regularly do go through it and at least kind of look at everything and see what's going on there. I would love, especially in the gaming and NFT space, for you to hit me up. But not just that, right? Like, the main thing I'm passionate about, and NFTs have stolen the conversation for us because of what's going on in that space and what we're talking about today. My main passion is DeFi and decentralizing finance and creating that what I discussed earlier of why I got into crowdfunding, creating that global borderless system, the even level playing field for transacting on the internet. And that's really, to me, the reason why we're all here. And I think of NFTs as an epic opportunity and a lot of fun. I collected comic books as a kid and baseball cards and comic book cards and things like that, magic cards. But I think that's going to be a gateway into the system, more people playing on chain because of those things. And you need that robust ecosystem. You need all of these products for any single one of them to have, a ton of adoption. So if you're doing something in the DeFi space or really anything in the blockchain space, hit us up.
Yeah, I think actually, speaking on that, we have another question from the audience. They asked, how does the momentum or energy in Tezos compare to other venture technologies that you participated in?
Yeah, it's interesting. So like there is there. Sorry, I just saw a thing in the chat that says he still collects. Don't let him fool you. I collect now NFTs more than I collect physical things, but I do randomly get a random book or something like that. But I'm not collecting comic books on a daily basis. Although when I go to my parents' house and I visit my comic books and I bring them out and show the kids and have a ton of fun. But I think the energy on Tezos is really exciting right now. I think one of the things that's interesting about Tezos is that it did feel to me at the beginning, and why we stood on the sidelines a little bit too. Although, like I always talk about, Lunar Crush. I don't know, you could see their stickers up on my thing right behind me. But Lunar Crush has always been really, really obsessed with Tezos. So every time we hang out with them, Lunar Crush, one of our portfolio companies, they're amazing. They would always talk about Tezos and Tezos this, Tezos that, and we would learn a lot, and we would be sitting there. But to me, it felt like the crowdfunding industry I was a part of back in the day, where a lot of it was some of the smartest people you've ever met, and methodical people building interesting products, but being maybe a little slow in launching those products and not great at marketing and telling the world about those products. And that's how it felt to me on the sidelines. Like, hey, this thing doesn't have to be perfect. People have to use it, and then you'll refine it and make it better, make it better, make it better. And so I felt, as if, like, what's going on Tezos? Like, I don't see much innovation launching publicly. And what it felt like happened was all these things were building up and building up and building up and creating a bit of pressure, right? Like, all of these great products exist, right? All of these technologies and puzzle pieces exist now on Tezos. And I feel like we're at an inflection point where this pressure is going to just all of a sudden, release. And we're going to have, we just got to the first few, and you're seeing stuff going on. You're seeing Colibri getting adoption. You're seeing Dexter getting adoption. You're seeing people get USD Tez and ETH Tez and bringing assets to the Tezos marketplace. You're seeing NFT marketplaces launch, and all of a sudden it's all happening all at once, right? Like, actually right now, like I moved over to a tab because in about 5 minutes the Tim Draper auction on the Alchemist site is going to be up, right? Like, so I got to jump on that and try to make a bid. And like, all these things are happening all at once. So I feel like there's crazy excitement. There's amazing stuff, and I feel like the people in the community, people who are participating, know about it first and are feeling it and understanding it, and everyone else is discounting it for a moment until they can't ignore it anymore. So I feel like there's this energy that's just it's gonna pop, and I feel like I've seen that and been a part of it in many industries in the past. And we saw it this summer with just DeFi in general, and we're seeing it now live with NFTs. And I think that Tezos will have that similar explosion from where we are today, explosion from where we are today in comparison to where we are. And then I think then we'll have a basis for building more and more. And I think that external people are coming into it now and going like, oh, I'm going to build something overnight. People who are, like better versions of what I did with TQ, with OpenMinter. I shouldn't have mentioned it, right? I was actually telling Alchemist to stop talking about it on Twitter, or Alchemist to stop talking about it on Twitter because I wanted it. So anyway, I just feel like we're at this great point right now, and people are coming in from all over the place building on Tezos. The people that have been building on Tezos are launching their products now, and I think there's going to be an exciting moments coming to the whole network.
Yeah, totally agree with the inflection point. I think the main takeaway too is, that all this stuff we're seeing today, it's actually organic. We're seeing several different artists flock to Tezos for these cleaner NFTs, DeFi products. And I think also in terms of NFTs specifically, it kind of showcases how some of these artists really aren't necessarily biased towards a certain network. They're kind of picking, something like Tezos and choosing it because it's suiting their needs.
Yeah, this is what we've been like. I've been screaming from the mountaintops for a long time too, is that we do live on Twitter sometimes or on Reddit in our own communities, right, in our own bubbles, right? And we think of what people are saying on Twitter as like, oh my God, there's these Bitcoin only people, or oh my gosh, like Ethereum only. These people are so toxic, or they're so this, or they're so that. And like, there's this other ETH killer, there's this killer, there's that killer, like Tezos only, the last blockchain, right? Like everybody's saying these things, right? And I don't see a world where only one survives. And I know that some of my friends in Tezos feel like it should be Tezos, and it probably, I love Tezos and it probably should, maybe it should. But the fact is that a blockchain is a bit like a programming language, right? And there's certain programming languages that are better for certain products. And there's certain operating systems that are better for certain products. And even in everyday life, I'm doing this through Restream right now in my browser, in Chrome, on a MacBook, in that operating system, where there is, you know, JavaScript, HTML, CSS, and a bunch of other things going on in the browser. And then outside of that, there's a whole operating system with a bunch of other languages. And we don't think about that. We just have the end user product that's best and that they've made for like this, right? So will Tezos be good for STOs? Somebody mentioned. Will Tezos be good for NFTs? Will Tezos be good for DeFi? I think it'll be good for all of them. Will be the best one for every single category? I don't know. We'll find out. And it doesn't always mean the best one is the one that wins, right? There's people that will tell us there's a bunch of better operating systems than iOS for the iPhone, but that's the one most people use. So anyway, like there's going to be so many of these things, and with NFTs and art in particular, that's the first sort of, I think, use case that started getting some more mainstream open uses in our space on chain. And what you saw very quickly was like most people don't give a crap. We might sit on Twitter and argue all day long, this one's better, that one's better, this one's better. You know, the kid buying an NBA Top Shots doesn't give a crap whether you tell him that Ethereum is more decentralized than, you know, the chain that Draper made for Top Shots. Like, they don't care.
Or the
artist doesn't, you know, go ahead.
Did you see the Beeple sale earlier today?
Yeah, it's like $70 million, I think.
65 million, something like that.
Absolutely bonkers. I didn't see it. I was playing around with my NFTs site and had a couple meetings, but right. Yeah, it's you know, it's definitely just crazy what's going on now. And the thing is, the artists don't really care that much. Where they're gonna care, they probably are going to continue using Ethereum for now predominantly, because that's where the money is and that's where these platforms are, right? But if Calment launches and we start bringing some great artists on there, which there's already, I think, like 70 artists that are already approved to go live on Calment when that launches, and, you know, hundreds more applying, and so like when that happens, and then when you know, more people launch with Open Minter, and when people feel like they have control and all of these things happen, some people will migrate over to Tezos. You know, the smaller artists, like the ones not selling their NFTs for $70 million, are having a lot of problems with Ethereum and other networks because they're expensive. You know, that's why Wax has a big community. But Tezos has that opportunity too. I mean, I moved 10 Tez into a separate wallet, so that, you know, at Tez's highest price over the last, you know, month or two, that means like $50. I transferred like $50 into a side wallet, and I started playing with Open Minter, and I created 20 contracts. I probably minted 100 plus NFTs, and then still had about 5 Tez left over. On Ethereum, minting one NFT would have cost me more than the $50, right? So like, the cost is obviously a huge deal. You can't have an open, borderless global network if the cost of entry is a week's salary in some countries. Like that defeats the whole purpose. That literally kills the whole premise of the thing from the beginning. So as much as I love Ethereum, and I'm not going to, you know, say, you know, not totally trash talking Ethereum for that reason, I love it. I think it's an amazing product and network. But if we really want to create a global system, we need to be able to fix that. And they're too slow to fix it right now. Maybe that'll change over time. Maybe that'll be different years from now. Maybe people will be willing to take those fees on themselves to allow people to transact globally. But if I can't, you know, like, I think about it from the lens of 9-year-old me, 10-year-old me wanting to trade a baseball card or a comic book card with my friend Gary. If I go to Gary's garage and we're sitting there at a folding table and I go, you want this X-Men card for that X-Men card? If his dad ran out and in between us said, stop, you need to pay me $1 before you guys can make this trade, we would have never traded a card. Like not one, right? But now with Ethereum fees being what they are, just to transfer an NFT costs $5, $10, $20, you know, depending on the gas fees. And that basically kills the whole thing, right? Like maybe some of us are crazy and have made magical internet money into our Ethereum wallets because we got some airdrop, we got some things, and we're willing to pay those fees. But the actual use case, when it goes beyond the nerds playing with MetaMask, and we actually try to create a mainstream product, that destroys it, right? Like that makes it impossible. So we need other networks, and I think that what's going on in Tezos is a huge opportunity for people building for collectibles. That's why we're talking about NFTs a lot right now. But I think there's opportunity, and the fact that Tezos has seen issues in advance and can update the blockchain in the way that they update the blockchain and keep making it better in a reasonable amount of time is a huge benefit to build on Tezos too. There probably won't be, you know, these extreme points like what happens on Ethereum where so much stress on the network makes it unusable. I hope not. It will be a great problem to have because Tezos, I'm confident, will fix it faster than what's happened with Ethereum. But you know, I think there's more forethought in the system.
Yeah. Let's have just a small break here because we want to announce the giveaway keyword. And as you guys know, you can win both a Tezos branded Ledger Nano S and $100 worth of USDTZ provided by Alon. And so the keyword is !NFTZ. So that's NFT in capital letters and a small z. So just be sure to put that in the chat, and we'll be announcing a winner near the end of the show.
Yeah, to somebody, Jason, you're in the chat. You said, can we get a Gary NFT? Gary is actually one of my close friends that I grew up with, and I use that as an example. He was my cousin's like next door neighbor growing up. And he's actually like a really crazy good artist and photographer, and getting him into NFTs. And I got him a Tezos wallet, and I sent him a couple Tez so he can mint some stuff on nftz.fun, and he's going to. And he's got some killer cool stuff. So we got to encourage him because he's you know. He helped me do the thing locally in Southern California called 805 Startups, but he grew up in the area, and he used to go and be like one of the official photographers for the LA Kings, like the hockey team. And, but like he does all sorts of cool artsy fartsy stuff because, you know, that's even more fun. So you guys hopefully will get him in, but everyone should be doing that, right? Get your friends who are artists. Like this is probably the first time ever in history where artists can go direct and make money, and you know, hopefully not be starving artists anymore. So get them in while it's still hot, and so they can make a few bucks before it simmers down.
Yeah, if you're an artist tuned in right now, or you have some friends who are artists, be sure to let them know to head over to, for instance, calment.io and apply for the platform. Yes. That's about to go live soon. And also you can go to Hicetnunc, that's HICETNUNC.xyz. And you can basically get started minting NFTs on Tezos right away because it's live. And we've got a related question here.
NFTZ.fun. But yeah, you know, speaking of all that stuff too, guys, go if you go to the Draper, Goren, Holm. Actually, I'm going to try to create something on our site so that we can categorize some of this stuff. But about half of our portfolio companies are doing something or preparing something on Tezos now. So check out those companies and support them. So you guys mentioned. Some of the people in the chat were mentioning security tokens. Vertalo is building security tokens on Tezos. That's one of our portfolio companies. And Onera, another one that's doing security token stuff, is very likely going to build a special adapter for the Tezos network to participate in their system. You know, and then I can go down the list, right? There's Calment now, Stable Tech, USD Tez, and ETH Tez. That's our portfolio company. AlphaFin is launching something called DLN, the Decentralized Lending Network, for doing microloans across the world. They're going to be building on Tezos. Dr. Adel El-Maziri runs that company. Follow him and check it out. And a bunch of our other companies. I'm probably forgetting something obvious, but go support those companies, and we're looking for more companies building on Tezos. So please reach out, like I said before.
Yeah, and actually going back on Calment, there's another question from the audience on that. I think you already touched on it, but they were asking, when will that go live? And how is that going to make it interesting for artists? And will it be curated?
Yeah, so as far as I understand, I think it's going to be curated at the beginning. I've been playing around with the testnet on it, and anyone can mint a token so far the way they have it built, but only the curated ones show up like in the feed. But we'll see what they end up doing long term. But for now, I think that they're trying to up the level of quality. So they've had hundreds of people apply, and they've chosen ones to go live right at the beginning. But I think they'll open it up, and from what I understand is the idea is to sort of be the sort of marketplace for all NFTs on Tezos. So I confirmed with them, like, for example, if somebody mints an NFTZ on nftz.fun right now, they'll be able to sell it later on Calment. You can sell it on nftz.fun right now too, but you'll be able to also sell it, auction it, and stuff like that on Calment when they launch. And so the way I kind of see it is like how on Ethereum, there's all these small marketplaces, but then OpenSea exists to allow you to participate and trade on all. And really the big secondary market exists on OpenSea. And so I think it'll probably work out like that, but we'll see how it goes. And OpenSea is adding support for Tezos too, so that's going to be really, really exciting. So all things are looking up, and then their launch should be next week, as far as I know. They basically are fixing all sorts of scaling stuff and making sure that everything is rock solid for launch. But it's looking really good. I've played around with it. It's awesome. And what was the other part of the question? It was, I think that was it.
They asked, how will it be made interesting for artists?
Oh, I think in general, the idea of having full control and being able to, collect a royalty and all of those things that happen on all of the networks, or at least what's become standard for NFTs, is hugely exciting for artists. I think the fact that Tezos, you can mint the NFTs, you can control how many you mint, and all the metadata and all the details that you can attach to it is really exciting, and that it costs very, very little. It's really, really great. And then you'll be able to sell them immediately, and then soon after you'll be able to auction, and there's a marketplace, right? Like there's a secondary market. So, and it's, built for the artists from the ground up. So I think it's going to be really exciting, where artists will have full control, and Makeful's going to sell some NFTs on the first day, and then they're going to open it up to a bunch of artists the next day. And so I just think it's going to be, it's going to be really exciting. And I think NFTs in general are sort of a paradigm shift for artists, especially digital artists. And so I think this will be fun to have the first, there are some NFT sites now on Tezos, but the first one that's built from the ground up specifically to be a whole marketplace is going to be a lot of fun.
Alon, you've mentioned different interesting, exciting projects that are either being built behind the scenes or live as we speak. Mm-hmm. And we've got a related question that we had in the chat, which is, what DeFi platforms are you most excited about? What is DGH invested in? And are you involved in TezFin or Colibri specifically?
We're not involved in Colibri, but I love that project. I think the whole marketplace needs these things, right? You need to have a stable token to peg to the dollar that has dollars in the bank account. As much as I don't love fiat, you need that for a robust system, right? Like people still trust it around the world. They need to go back and forth. Colibri, you also need what Colibri is doing, right? The ability to put one asset in a vault and take a more stable dollar, but it plays a different role than the stable $1 to one token that exists, right? And there needs to be the ability to go back and forth between them, to have a base for decentralized finance. And then you need to be able to then build on top of that, right? So we've seen that play out on Ethereum. And what I think people in the space, that once you kind of get sucked in, you kind of have blinders on. You don't realize how small that really is so far. And doing it on different networks is going to create new opportunities, like TezX, right? So for example, StableTech also has TezX, the bridge, where I can go onto that bridge. And I was proud of myself. They called me up. I told them to call me when they were testing it and they're moving it to production. And I did the first transaction from Ethereum to Tezos, where I actually sent USDC into a smart contract, and on the other side got USD Tez. And so you can now move. And soon, I think any moment now, Ethereum will have the same thing, where you can put in Ethereum and get ETH Tez on the other side. And then you can trade that on Dexter, use it as collateral, do different things like that. So these cross-chain bridges are really important. And so all these things are like the baseline to get started. But even on Ethereum, where I was getting at before, is that we just started. I used to have this pitch deck for my previous company that talked about the US alternative investment space being $7 trillion a year. And this was like 10 years ago. So the number has gone up even more. But if the US alternative space is $7 trillion world, and that doesn't include a bunch of categories like bonds and those markets and things like that, the 50, even $100 billion locked in DeFi is still a drop in the bucket to banks. They're looking at that like, oh, that's cute, like that's not real in their eyes, right? That it's going to eat them up and it's going to put them out of business. But right now they're looking at it like, who cares, whatever. Smart ones are starting to see. But we need more of those things happening on Tezos, and it's happening now. So DeFi companies we've invested in, we have a really exciting one on the Ethereum network called Prime DAO. That one is building some really, really cool things, almost like a prime brokerage services on the Ethereum blockchain, where they're rating tokens and then using those ratings, where the ratings will be able to balance pools of tokens and automatically adjust portfolios and do cool things like that. We're early investors. Actually, our first portfolio company was Total. Total is the first company ever to aggregate decentralized exchanges and offer you routing across all the decentralized exchanges. So back in the day when there was just Ether Delta and a couple forks of those things, this is 3-4 years ago, they were the only website you could go on and go, I want to trade this token for this token, and would find the best route and best price. That happens now inside of MetaMask, and that happens on a few different sites, but Total powers a lot of that, and they're the first people to ever do that. And so things like that will be happening on Tezos, right? Once there is more than one DEX. But even on the one DEX that exists right now on Tezos, there's an issue like, I want to go from Colibri to USD Tez, and they don't have that direct link yet. So you go from Colibri to Tez, from Tez to USD Tez. And that's what people are doing. But what'll happen is, what if I want to go Colibri to USD Tez, and the best route is actually Colibri to Tezos on Dexter, and then from Tezos to USD Tez on QuibiSwap when they launch. And all of a sudden, there needs to be a product that does that, because you want to be able to take all the liquidity across all the decentralized exchanges and not have them live in silos, and be able to do that. And what Total taught all of us many years ago is that when you, yeah, dude, I'm talking way too much. But what you learn about when you, I've got a funny story about that too, but about Tim Draper and Adam Draper. I'll give you guys in a sec, since it's kind of tied to Tezos. What the whole point is that you need to have these liquidity pools be able to interact with each other, because we've learned now, everyone's seen it through all these other products, but what Total taught us was that you can sometimes get 5-10% more value when you do that. So if I trade $1,000 worth of Ethereum for USDC on one single exchange, I don't realize that on some exchange I don't even know about, there's a better trade, or I can take parts of it and separate it and route it in different ways. And all of a sudden, instead of getting $1,000 worth of USDC at the end, I'll get $1,100 worth. And so all of a sudden there's a huge value to these things. And it makes the whole industry, more fair and better. So anyway, I want that stuff to be launched on Tezos, and we're just at that moment in time. Trying to think of other products we built. Yeah, but that's yeah.
Yeah, so real quick, just kind of taking a stopping point there. I want to congratulate Nolan Baker, who is actually the winner of the Tezos Ledger Nano S and USDTZ giveaway. So please.
Wait, I want to know, Nolan. I see that you've been chatting in the. You don't have to tell us your real last name if it's not Baker, but is Baker your actual real last name? Because if it is, then you were made for Tezos. Like I don't think you can ever move to a different chain or do anything. We'll find out in a minute. We'll update
We'll find out eventually. But like I was saying, please shoot us an email over at social@tezoscommons.org, and we will get you your prizes.
Yeah, Nolan, I'm gonna send you $100 worth of USD Tez, which happens to be 100 USD Tez.
Awesome.
Is his surname for real? That's awesome. That's so funny. That's so cool. Yeah, I feel like you know what? I think some people need to go onto NFTs.fun right now and make some tributes to Nolan and the fact that his last name is Nolan Baker. Just saying. I want some minted on there.
By the way, circling back to what we've initially talked about, this auction house by the Alchemist, I think that issue number 9 and 10 have found a winning bid. Not sure if you had the chance to participate, Alon.
Maybe I'll be able to get the Japanese one in time. Dang, that's awesome. Hey, congratulations to whoever got that. I'm super jealous. Good job. I had meetings during the first one. It went for a lot. It went for over 1,000 Tez, which a part of me was glad I was in meetings because I didn't spend 1,000 Tez on an NFT, but a part of me was really sad I didn't get to do it.
Yeah, I think issue number 15, which would be Elon at Stramingo Fields, is going for above 2,000 Tez at the moment.
Wait, why is that one more than the number one? Is there something behind it I don't know about?
It might just be Elon Musk. But anyways, for our viewers who are wondering what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, for our viewers who are wondering what we're talking about here, if you want to see these auctions live, just head over to auctions.alchemist.com. Those are actually those are some pretty nice NFTs, I gotta say.
Yeah, he's done an incredible job. He or she, I don't know who Alchemist actually is, has done a crazy cool job of just making really epic art. And I think did the first airdrop of NFTs on Tezos also. So that's pretty radical. I'm about to do a little airdrop to the people who participated in one of my first things as well. So that'll be fun. And then I'll do some when Calment launches for real. I'm going to do some real big fun campaigns and things. So that it's on a legit site that I know won't break all the time like my NFTs site does.
All right, Alon, before we wrap up, what's the best way to reach out to you? Would you like people to get in touch with you via Twitter?
Yeah. Twitter is great. Just at Alon Goren. If you have a company, hit us up on the Draper Goren Holm website. That's really important. And then, we have all of our events coming up. Check the events tab on the website. We have a security token event coming in a couple weeks. There'll definitely be some Tezos talk on that. And yeah, thank you guys so much for having me. And I'm pretty accessible. Just Twitter is probably where I spend the most time, but connect on LinkedIn and all that fun stuff too. Although I don't really check the messages on LinkedIn anymore, so Twitter is better.
Yeah. Thanks a lot for tuning in today with us, Alon, and taking the time to chat about some of the stuff you're working on.
I'm so excited. You guys have done an incredible job building such a fun and awesome community on Tezos. And I'm just sort of came in the last month or two and started experimenting and learning. And everyone has been amazing in helping me learn and build. And, you know, I just want to throw gasoline on this fire. I'm just so excited about it. And so thanks everyone who's listening, and thank you guys for your part in everything. And you know, Kevin for really pushing me towards Tezos. He's like one of the best you know, wingmen for the for lack of a better term for Tezos that I know. And of course everyone at TQ for helping with you know, with Open Minter and learning and all that. And the Calment team for educating me a lot about Tezos. Everyone has been incredible. So thank you guys.
Awesome. Well, if you'd like to catch up on previous episodes, you can go to our website at tezoscommons.org/TezTalks. But for Alon and Oliver, that is it for today.